Republican lawmakers in Georgia are pushing to roll back voting access just months after record voter turnout in the previously deep red state elected Democrats to the White House and the Senate. Georgia House Bill 531 passed largely along party lines over the objection of state Democrats and amid protests by civil rights groups angry over voter suppression. The new law, if passed by the state Senate, would require a voter ID for absentee voting, limit the amount of time voters have to request an absentee ballot, restrict where ballot drop box could be located, restrict when those drop boxes could be accessed, and limit early voting hours on weekends, among many other changes. Republicans say the measure is needed to restore the public's confidence in elections after former President Donald Trump and his allies relentlessly pushed false claims about fraud. Meanwhile, the state's Senate Ethics Committee voted Friday to eliminate no-excuse absentee voting altogether, a measure that will soon go to the full Senate. Gene Robinson, your writing is related to this. What do you make of, first of all, what they're trying to do in Georgia?
Well, what they're trying to do in Georgia is limit the African-American vote. And that's what Republicans who are in charge of the state legislature are trying to do in order to hold on to power and on the statewide level, given what just happened, reclaim power. It is, and that's like full stop. I mean, that's what's going on. This looks like a sort of knee-jerk reaction to Donald Trump's loss and the losses of Senators Perdue and Loeffler in the election. But I think there's a lot more calculation than that in what's happening now. Georgia has been trending purple and now bluish for a while, and Republicans have seen those affluent suburbs around Atlanta becoming more and more Democratic, and that's not a trend they can stop. But maybe they can lower the Democratic vote by putting by hurting the opportunities of African Americans to vote in like central Atlanta and the Black Belt across the state and the Savannah area. Maybe they can compensate for the Democratic trend in the Atlanta suburbs, and Georgia's not the only state, but this is perhaps the most egregious example given all the focus on Georgia and also given the Senate outcomes.
Gene, as you alluded to, this is a national issue that's drawn the interest of the White House and people who look at voting rights across the country. Stacey Abrams, most prominently there in the state of Georgia as well. Where else are we seeing this crop up? Because obviously Georgia is a state Republicans feel like by the 10, 11, 12,000 votes, they would have swung that election and perhaps given the White House to Donald Trump's. But this is not unique to Georgia, as you write about.
No, we're seeing it particularly in the states where former President Trump contested the election results. There are even more and more ridiculous anti-democratic legislation being proposed by Republicans in Arizona, for example, including a bill that would just allow the state legislature to pick its own presidential electors, no matter what the result of the election was. But you're seeing it in Arizona, you're seeing it in Pennsylvania, you're seeing it in Wisconsin, and you're actually seeing it in 33 states, according to the Brennan Center for Justice, which keeps track of this. And there are these kinds of measures in 33 states across the country.
Wow. So, Mike Barnicle, they're basically the bottom line on this in Georgia is they're putting limits on absentee voting. There were 1.3 million absentee votes cast in Georgia in the presidential election. 2/3 of them went for Joe Biden.
Yeah, Willie, it's not just Georgia, too, as you just pointed out. I mean, now in Arizona and other states, they're trying to change the system whereby electors are appointed. So it would be the Republican state legislatures appointing the electors and in further efforts to bag the next presidential election. And, Gene, I don't think it's too harsh to describe all of these activities taking place and put forward by one political party, the Republican Party, as that political party, the Republican Party at the national level and in many instances at the state level, living in fear of the constant changing face of America.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, this is I describe it in my piece as very much akin to Jim Crow era voting restrictions on African Americans. Not just African Americans who were targeted in Arizona, for example. It would be more Hispanic voters that are being targeted. But this is becoming a majority minority country. There will not be a white Anglo majority in this country around the year 2045, and that's already the case in our most populous states and our most populous cities.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.